Emily had just picked up a brand new mountain bike and couldn't have been more excited about it until things took a very unsettling turn. Each night, the bike would slam to the ground like something had physically knocked it over. She chalked it up to an uneven floor and tried to put it out of her mind. Then one evening she heard tapping sounds and the distinct scrape of a chain being dragged across the garage floor. She grabbed her phone and started recording. See for yourself what unfolded.
I made a right bang this time. I had my door shut though. Fuck. Shh. I know there's no one here. I was spinning. Look how much it's moved. What? It was right over there. I don't understand.
Oh, I don't want to touch it.
The handlebars are wrapped around the other way. But if it was stood up, why would they be like that? I'm confused. I'm going to move it. There is fucking no one. I'm freaked out now. Freaked out. Right, so I've moved it. I've moved it into here, into the spare room. Nobody lives in here. But I've purposely put, so if you are a freaky bike, then there's no way that you can move me. So hopefully.
She moved the bike into a storage room and wedged boxes tightly around every side, making it physically impossible for anything to shift. The noise stopped completely. She stepped back and kept the camera rolling from a distance, and then the entire room erupted, objects launching through the air and smashing to the ground. Pure chaos.
The thing's shaking. That's the room it's in. Oh, please tell me, please, please. I'm terrified. I'm not gonna lie. Oh, you didn't. I don't want to go. Oh, fuck! Get me out of here now! Get me out of here now! Can't do this anymore. I'm just shaking. Right, fuck this. Right, the front door is in front of me to the right, and there is nothing happening right now, but I need to get the fuck out of here, so. I don't like this. I'm gonna go to my friend's house. Pray for me, pray for me.
Emily bolted outside and brought her neighbors back with her. When the whole group walked through the door together, this is what was waiting for them.
I don't dare. Come back. The plant pot's I'm still on the floor.
That's still down there.
I told you, it's smashed.
Yeah.
Weird.
That's pretty weird, man. But yeah.
Please check other things for me because I'm scared. Yeah, there was no one in.
You say it was just like the wall making a funny noise, or?
Well, the wall to the room where my bike is, I left my bike in there and then it just went mental and I don't know.
Right, okay, fuck.
What?
Is this some kind of joke or something? Because this is,
It's just my bike in the bedroom.
yeah, but it's pretty messed up in here.
What the fuck are you talking about, Seth? Don't mess with me because this is really. You know how much this has scared me though?
Yeah, but seriously, it's not. I don't think
don't
this is
even
how you
dare go
left
in.
it, like.
Oh, this is. Why is I'm
I
using?
don't know what the fuck.
Oh, fuck off. Oh no.
Yeah, that's fucking.
This is the spare room, Seth. Yeah, I'm moving out.
The room had been completely torn apart, everything scattered and thrown, and the bike had been hauled all the way across the space and flipped upside down in the corner. Emily never spent another night under that roof. She walked out and didn't look back. This story comes from a security guard by the name of Erwin, who had a deeply unsettling encounter during a solo night shift. Everything started off completely unremarkable, just another quiet evening on the job. He was seated at the security post, keeping an eye on the CCTV monitor bank, displaying feeds from various locations around the building. Then, without warning, something on one of those screens pulled his attention in, something that made him lean in and stare, trying to make sense of what the camera had actually picked up.
Kira-kira apa, guys? Kok nggak hilang lagi, guys? Terbang. Nggak hilang ya? Ini kalau dicek keluar pasti nggak ada nih. Coba ya. Coba kita cek keluar ya. Tuh. Masih ada itu. Coba kita cek keluar. Coba cek keluar. Kan? Di sini masih ada loh. Kira-kira apa ya?
In the recording, a bizarre figure is barely visible drifting through a hallway. It appears stretched and thin, with a pale, almost see-through quality, and its movement is erratic and unlike anything natural. Things got even more unnerving when Erwin went to investigate the spot in person and found absolutely nothing there. No explanation has ever been confirmed. Whether what appeared on screen was a genuine supernatural presence or simply a glitch in the camera's optics remains an open question. Despite that uncertainty, once the footage began circulating online, the vast majority of viewers were left with the strong feeling that whatever that figure was, it was far from normal. What started as an ordinary overnight shift at a construction site soon became something far more unsettling. A security officer stationed there to deter recent equipment theft found everything seemingly in order, until an eerie noise shattered the quiet. Shaken, he grabbed his phone. And hit record. What he managed to capture still haunts him to this day. Unexplained screaming, reverberating across the deserted site. What makes the whole thing even harder to shake is that a thorough search of the surrounding area turned up absolutely nothing. TikTok creator going by the username PirateKing307 posted some unsettling footage recorded by his Ring doorbell camera, and he claims the incident took place while he was far from his property. He says he was roughly 100 miles away when his phone suddenly buzzed with a notification that something had set off the camera. He pulled up the app to check what was happening outside his front door, and what he saw and heard left him completely stunned.
Over 100 miles away, we heard our Ring doorbell sound, and we were super shocked to listen to the sound. Just wait for it. Sounds like the door is opening, and then there's a voice.
Clinging to the wall just beside the doorbell camera is what looks like a tiny creature. It bears a resemblance to a gecko, or maybe a praying mantis, positioned right up close to the lens. But what really got under people's skin isn't the creature at all. It's what you hear next. A deeply unsettling voice can be made out saying the words, "Help me." The person who posted the video later shared that he purchased the home from a couple who had spent 76 years together as husband and wife. The story goes that the husband one day collapsed in the front yard while cutting the grass and died before he ever made it to the hospital. Given that backstory, the uploader can't help but wonder whether the voice might be tied to the previous owner, perhaps a spirit attempting to come back to the home and reunite with his wife. Of course, the small figure near the lens could just as easily be a bug or a lizard that happened to trigger the motion sensor. And the voice itself might have belonged back to someone passing by or been picked up from a distance, with the microphone making it sound far closer than it actually was. Still, hearing the words "help me come through your doorbell camera" while you're 100 miles away is the kind of thing that would make anyone's blood run cold. A TikTok account called Crime Stories 39 uploaded an unsettling video that was reportedly filmed somewhere in California on April 6th. The shot opens with the camera aimed at a darkened tree late at night, and before long, something lurking high up among the branches draws the eye. Whatever this thing is, it doesn't move an inch, just perched up there, staring down. The shape is difficult to make out with any certainty, but those eyes are impossible to ignore, burning a vivid red against the pitch-black surroundings, as though there's some kind of light source behind them. A portion of the audience thinks there's a rational explanation, suggesting an AI animal caught the camera light at just the right angle to produce that glow. But plenty of others aren't buying it, arguing that the silhouette and the eerie motionlessness of the figure feel nothing like your average creature perched in a tree. The clip ends without ever resolving the mystery, leaving only one lingering question. Was this simply a wild animal stumbled upon by a camera, or was something far stranger keeping watch from those branches? Imagine you're relaxing at home. You glance out the window, and something bizarre staring back at you from a nearby tree stops you cold. That's exactly the situation captured by a user called Haunted in this footage. Let's zoom in and get a better look at what we're dealing with.
A monkey. A monkey on top of the football field. It's crazy. In Jamaica.
Perched in the branches is a small, slender creature with a hunched posture and strikingly elongated arms. Nothing about it resembles any animal you'd normally expect to see. The person behind the camera offered a fairly simple explanation, suggesting it might just be a monkey, but a large portion of viewers weren't buying that, feeling the figure was far too unsettling to be any run-of-the-mill primate. A number of commenters actually drew comparisons to Dobby from Harry Potter, pointing to the creature's eerie stance and skeletal frame. Still others were convinced this was no animal at all, but rather some kind of presence quietly lurking in the branches. On the more skeptical side, some people argued the whole thing might be nothing more than a trick of the eye, low video resolution, and tree shadows conspiring to create the illusion of a humanoid shape. So where do you land on this one? That call is entirely yours to make. Late one night in Mexico City, a worried woman dials the local police to report strange, inexplicable sounds coming from her son's apartment directly above her unit. The catch is that her son is away on a trip, meaning the place should be completely vacant. Officers respond quickly and sweep the apartment, but turn up nothing. No burglar, no intruder of any kind. That said, the officers themselves begin picking up on odd sounds, banging noises, and what seems to be the faint murmur of voices somewhere in the unit. Convinced that somebody might be concealed inside, the officers radio back to headquarters and request that a nearby public surveillance camera be repositioned to monitor the windows of that upstairs apartment. What that camera records next is genuinely unsettling. The footage shows the ghostly silhouettes of 3 children peering out from the window just as the officers are walking away. The building's long-serving security guard has stated that this exact eerie phenomenon seems to repeat itself every decade, and nobody has ever been able to explain it. He also notes that no children have ever resided in that particular unit, leaving him completely at a loss for who or what they could be. The footage has never been explained to this day. What you're about to watch was filmed by a man who had driven out to a cemetery to pay his respects at a family member's grave. As he slowly navigated the winding paths in search of a parking spot, his camera picked up something deeply unsettling, something that moves so fast, one blink and you'll miss it entirely. Keep your eyes glued to the screen. Briefly visible between the headstones, a strange, dark-haired woman flickers into view for barely a fraction of a second, then disappears completely, leaving absolutely nothing behind. The figure emerges so rapidly, almost concealed among the graves, and that detail alone makes the whole thing far more chilling when the clip is broken down frame by frame. What makes this even stranger is that by the man's own account, he noticed absolutely nothing out of the ordinary at the moment the supposed figure appeared. It wasn't until he sat down and quietly reviewed the footage afterward that he spotted it, and that discovery left him with a question that's impossible to shake. Was there simply another person passing through the cemetery? Was it some kind of optical distortion created by the lens? Or had this man unknowingly recorded something that can't be explained? What you're about to see was recorded by a security camera inside a Malaysian hospital, and it's the kind of footage that's difficult to shake. Late one night, security personnel spotted something on their monitor that stopped them cold. See for yourself. A pitch-black, shadowy shape, resembling a young boy, stood completely still in the corridor. But here's what makes it truly unsettling. Not a single person physically present in that hallway could perceive it. They passed right through the figure, as though it simply wasn't there. Every member of the hospital staff was left shaken once they reviewed what the camera had actually recorded. According to those involved, the patient resting in the nearby bed died less than an hour after that dark figure made its appearance. So tell me, how do you explain something like that? Setting up Halloween decorations is usually all about having a good time, but every now and then, something about those decorations behaves in a way nobody can explain. One household had mounted a row of skulls along the exterior wall of their home. Meanwhile, the woman of the house was right there beside them, fussing with some ornaments along the fence. That's the moment things took a strange turn. Out of nowhere, one of the skulls rotates and orients itself directly toward her. She insists there was no wire or string controlling it, and if a gust of wind were responsible, why did none of the other skulls so much as twitch? What makes it even more unsettling, though, isn't simply that it moved, it's the nature of the movement itself. The skull swivels in a slow, deliberate arc, almost as though something were tracking a presence drifting through the area. So was this just some random physical force at work? Or was something unseen quietly keeping watch over the whole scene? In February 2026, a home security system recorded something deeply unsettling. The camera was mounted outside a residence on a peaceful suburban street in Ohio, USA. The area borders a large stretch of woodland, so the people living there are no strangers to odd sounds after dark, or the occasional wild animal wandering through. But nothing quite prepared them for what their camera picked up that night, because whatever it was, nobody has been able to explain it. The object tears past the lens at a breathtaking pace, almost too quick for the eye to catch. Slowing the footage down gives you a slightly better look, but even then, all you can really make out is a dark shape moving at an extraordinary rate. What makes this even more unsettling is that the same thing was apparently picked up by two different cameras, mounted on two separate houses. That rules out the possibility of a simple technical glitch on a single device. Some people watching the footage have argued it could be a bird passing close to the lens, but others are quick to point out just how unnaturally fast it appears to be traveling, far beyond what any bird should realistically be capable of. A large number of viewers have come to the conclusion that what these cameras captured is something genuinely paranormal. So what's your take on it? In the video that follows, a group of nurses make their way into a section of their hospital referred to as the Old ER, a floor that has sat completely abandoned for years. Numerous patients died within those walls, among them several children. As a result, the staff have long suspected that something supernatural may linger in that area. One evening, a group working the overnight shift decided to wander up to that floor, simply to pass the time. What they had no idea about was that something absolutely terrifying was waiting for them. The footage below comes directly from their own recording.
Guys, haunted ER.
What about it?
We're gonna go.
No.
Haunted ER, haunted ER. I'm really good too. Oh my god, my head is huge.
Stop.
Chloe, so I can't even.
Camera.
Huh?
It's just close to the camera.
Yeah, you're right. We got a chance for the haunted ER.
Oh god.
It's like
I'm not excited about this. I didn't even get a finish eating my sandwich.
it feels like we're getting on a.
Nervous.
You nervous? Why are you nervous?
Because it's haunted.
Are you nervous?
Yes.
Did you see anything?
Anybody in there? Oh. Oh, it's a doll. Oh. Yeah, it's just a little doll. They want us training.
Oh, it's a train doll.
Put it here.
It's still weird though. You know?
It's weird. Yeah, look at her.
That's so weird.
So weird.
Oh, that's freaky. I felt you like right behind. It's just freaky. You guys wave in the camera right now. Reflection.
They like see me? God, I feel like I'm gonna see.
Oh, that's the same room.
Oh. God, oh.
What?
Look at me. Oh. The lights are on.
That's weird.
Go in. Go in.
Oh, go in. No, go in.
Go in. Go in. Figure out why the lights are on. I don't like
Who
that.
cares
I
why the
don't like
lights are
that.
on?
Do
They
it.
look like evil eyes. You guys gonna come in with me?
Yeah, of
Go on,
course you're
Emerson.
gonna go in with you.
Thanks. Ooh, this feels weird. Was that you?
Yeah.
This room feels weird. Ooh. Oh! The curtain moved.
No, it didn't.
Yeah, it did. It moved.
Shut up. No,
It
it
moved. It
didn't.
moved. Yes, it did.
Why would a
It did.
curtain move?
How did you not see that? Oh, okay.
See for yourself. As one of the nurses ventures further into the room, a hospital curtain abruptly moves on its own with no apparent cause. Completely overcome with fear, she bolts out of the room at full speed, visibly shaken to her core. Then, within just a few seconds, a cane inexplicably topples over by itself. The next piece of footage, captured by a different nurse, documents that very same moment from an entirely different vantage point. Watch what unfolds.
What?
The curtain moved.
No, it didn't.
It did.
Shut up. No, it didn't.
Yes, it did.
Why would a
It
curtain
did.
move?
The nurses featured here believe the disturbance may have been the spirit of a child who had died in that very room not long before. That said, much like other strange events reported on this floor, some of them suspect it could have been an entirely different kind of presence altogether, whether a ghost or something else. Every nurse involved walked away from the experience deeply shaken by what they witnessed. Paranormal investigator from Mexico says he's come face to face with something nobody has been able to explain. According to him, what his camera picked up left him absolutely stunned. He had ventured into an abandoned structure at the request of his followers, and what he discovered inside was unlike anything he expected. See for yourself what unfolded.
What is that? Who are you? Who are you? No way.
As he's recording, he spots something lurking at the far end of the corridor. Once he directs his light toward it, you can make out a dark figure just standing there, motionless, staring back at him. Then, in an instant, it dissolves straight down into the floor like it was made of vapor. The shape appeared solid, almost like a person, yet it simply sinks into the ground and leaves absolutely nothing behind. There's no rational way to account for it. So what's your verdict? Was this a genuine paranormal encounter, or was the whole thing staged? One night, a YouTuber and his young boy set out to film an abandoned stretch of cracked asphalt surrounding an old drainage tunnel. As they were capturing footage of the area, the child suddenly froze mid-step and quietly murmured that something was moving inside the darkened tunnel. Here's what the camera caught next.
Rowan's got his pinwheel and he loves it. Man, I'm telling you, there's something in there. I mean, Rowan can smell it. I mean, Daryl can smell it.
What is it, Daryl? Oh, what is that?
And Rowan hears it. You know, look at him. Then my phone tweaks out of nowhere. And then this happened.
Oh, my light went out. Whoa, what is that? That's weird, my light went out. What is it, Daryl? I can't see. What is it? What is that?
A pair of ghostly white hands thrust out from between the corroded metal bars, sending both of them into a panic. Completely shaken, They bolted from the location with no idea what had been lurking just below them. So what's your take on what that could have been? Clune Park Estate is a location that tends to leave its visitors deeply uncomfortable, with a derelict school sitting at the heart of the town and a Gothic church looming close by. Many who pass through report an overwhelming sense that something unseen is present. The community here once flourished in the early 1920s, before its residents gradually disappeared. Some attribute the exodus to harsh living conditions, though others are convinced there's a darker explanation, that the estate is haunted. Armed with that knowledge, two friends decide to venture out there after dark, hoping to catch something on camera that they can't explain. Things seem quiet at first, but once they make their way inside an abandoned flat, they come face to face with something that defies explanation.
Hello? Isn't it? Hello? Yo! Hello? Yo, go upstairs, Jim. Hello? What is that? Is that downstairs? Hello? Someone down there, bro. How can they? I'm confused. Huh? Say that. We're in that room. Hello? Hello? What are we hearing? Hello?
A strange sound drifting up from the floor below sends them searching, and they eventually trace it back to a specific room, only to find it completely empty when they look inside. A squatter tucked away somewhere might explain it, but what they had recorded even before stepping foot in the building is harder to dismiss.
Future in hand. Right, that one's open. Yo. Do you see movement then? Move the light. Yo. Yo. Is that? Yo.
There, concealed behind a curtain in one of the upper windows, something, or someone, appears to be staring directly at them. The moment it's spotted, the figure retreats out of sight, but a closer inspection of the footage reveals a pale, unsettling face that looks like it was lifted straight from a nightmare. Both of them are visibly shaken by what they've seen. Given that this building has sat empty for years, the burning question is, whatever was peering out at them from behind that curtain? They've been living with something unexplainable for years. The residents of this home, some of whom still live there to this day, have long reported feeling a dark presence lurking somewhere nearby, almost as though something unseen was constantly keeping watch. And the experiences didn't stop there. They describe terrifying incidents, lights flickering without cause, objects hurled violently across rooms, paintings torn clean off the walls, and shadowy figures drifting through the house when nobody else was around. After years of this, they finally decided to set up a camera, and what it recorded left no room for doubt. The wooden tabletop slowly began to rise into the air, entirely on its own, as though some invisible force was gently lifting it from underneath. Nobody was in the house at the time, so coming up with a rational explanation is next to impossible. The second piece of footage was recorded while the entire household was sound asleep, and it shows a chair gradually sliding away from the table before suddenly snapping back into position. As unsettling as both moments are, the residents say that over time they have actually grown accustomed to these occurrences, and they don't sense any particularly negative energy coming from whatever is sharing their home. Even so, this is absolutely one place I would never volunteer to spend a night in. The videos you're about to see come from the TikTok account shown on screen right now. It's run by a woman based in the Philippines who typically posts pretty ordinary day-to-day content. But not long ago, she uploaded a series of clips recorded by the driver of her aunt, who had been staying by himself in a condo unit. On his very first night there, he woke up from a dead sleep, claiming he could hear someone moving around in the kitchen. Then, while still in bed, he felt something tugging at his blanket. He tried to shake it off, telling himself it was probably just his imagination getting the better of him. The next day, though, while he was mopping the floors, he watched footprints mysteriously appear out of nowhere, trailing in the direction of the bathroom. Then the night after that, right around midnight, things escalated significantly. That's when he made the decision to hit record, and here's what his camera picked up.
Ano ba yan? Ganito dito. Hindi ko pa yan naririnig ah. Video lang tayo. Matakot na dito. Puyat ako dito. Mapupuyat ako.
By this point, the man was completely rattled by everything that had unfolded. Later that same evening, as he was packing his bag ahead of an overnight work trip, it suddenly snapped shut on its own, with no explanation. Already pushed to his limit, he grabbed his phone and started filming immediately. This is the moment you need to see for yourself.
Video lang. Makita tayo. Tingnan nyo guys ha. Yan na siya. Yan na. Yan na siya. Yan na.
After that, he refused to spend even one more night inside the unit and ended up sleeping in his car instead. No updates were ever posted after that point, and whatever was going on in that condo has never been explained. So what's your take? What do you think was happening in there? Could you bring yourself to stay somewhere like that? Drop your thoughts down in the comments below. A paranormal investigation crew set out to examine a derelict house with a dark and violent history. The team behind the channel's Scary Talk ticker had spent years poking around eerie locations, so walking into this one felt like business as usual. That assumption didn't last long. It quickly became clear they had no idea what they were stepping into. As the recording unfolds, a door begins to swing open on its own. Seconds after that, a faint figure, shaped like a person, materializes in the doorway, hovering there as though it knows someone is watching from inside the room. The camera captures the full layout of the space, and there's simply no place for a person to be concealed. According to the description posted with the video, the person holding the camera even walked the entire perimeter of the house, searching for someone who might explain what had just appeared on screen. Nobody was found, and once the group finally left the property, they claimed the experience didn't end there. Whatever had been lurking inside that house came with them. A few skeptics floated the idea that the phone may have been shifting or vibrating on the surface it sat on, but there's no audio to support that, and the surface itself was completely flat. So what's the real explanation here? Perhaps it's a warning that not every forgotten building is welcoming to outsiders, and that some doors are meant to stay shut. What's your take? A woman named Larissa was filming her son as she helped him practice writing letters, completely unaware that her camera was picking up something unsettling.
Mama, it's okay. Yeah. No, it's not okay. Look, is that ass? That twisted? Look like a bill. Yeah. It looks like a mountain. Yeah. Look like a mountain. It's still a triangle like a car mountain. Like a car mountain.
Just behind the two of them, a mysterious white mist appears out of thin air, slowly rising before vanishing just as suddenly, with no explanation for what caused it. What's particularly odd is how abruptly it materializes, and if the fan were responsible, the air would have been directed toward them, rather than simply drifting upward and fading away. Larissa noted that she had attended a funeral earlier that same morning, just before this was recorded. In a separate incident, something remarkably similar was caught by a home security system indoors. The living room camera picked up every detail. Without any warning, a dense, unusual smoke appears to seep directly through the wall on the left side of the frame, slowly drifting into the room. What makes this especially eerie is that the wall the smoke is coming through connects to the bedroom belonging to a young girl who would pass away just 1 week after this footage was taken, and some viewers believe they can make out the shape of a woman's face within the smoke itself. A family member confirmed that no one in the house was smoking, cooking, or doing anything else that could account for it. So could this strange, drifting mist somehow be tied to the presence of death? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. A man was in a rush and decided to take a shortcut, finding himself driving down an isolated forest road when things took a very strange turn. A rabbit appeared and refused to let his vehicle move forward, and some people believe the creature may have actually been a skinwalker.
So that लोग अवेयर हो पाए. अगर ये मैं नहीं देखती वीडियो तो मुझे भी नहीं लगता कि ये सच है. So you would see that rabbit क्रॉस नहीं करने दे रहा है. ये मेरे भाई के फ्रेंड की वीडियो है एंड वो नोएडा की तरफ जा रहा था तो उसको ये रैबिट क्रॉस ही नहीं करने दे रहा था. This is छलावा.
The animal kept darting back in front of the car, blocking the path over and over. The person who posted the footage described this behavior as chalawa, a term frequently associated with a skinwalker. What made the whole situation even more unsettling was when an eerie white light suddenly appeared further down the road.
Thing is, he's safe. उसने टाइम पे मोड़ ली और वापस आ गया. एंड जब वो मोड़ रहा था, जब वो पीछे हो रहा था, तो यू वुड सी कि रैबिट वहीं पर ही बैठ गया. वो वेट कर रहा था, वो वहां से देख रहा था उसको. तो दिस इज टेरिफाइंग. प्लीज बी अवेयर. अगर रात को ट्रैवल कर रहे हो तो बी माइंडफुल.
The driver brought the car to a stop and began reversing, but the rabbit moved in the direction of that same light and settled right beside it, almost as though it was luring the driver to come nearer. According to the uploader, chalawa refers to a bad omen, a kind of illusion or deceptive force believed to mislead travelers and bring them to a halt, particularly on journeys taken after dark. A rabbit repeatedly darting across or obstructing a road is regarded as a sinister sign in numerous folk traditions. In Indian folklore specifically, chalawa is described as another name for a skinwalker, an entity said to disorient people at night and draw them under its influence. On the other hand, scientific explanations point out that rabbits have weak night vision, and when a bright light hits them, they may perceive that spot as a place of safety, becoming too frightened to leave it. Even so, viewers kept coming back to one deeply uncomfortable question. What exactly was that white light the rabbit approached and sat down next to? Was the animal deliberately trying to draw the man toward it? The questions piled up, but no clear answers ever came. The following video was recorded in the Haunted Hobart, a hotel in Hobart, Australia, with a reputation for paranormal activity. And in October of 2021, a paranormal investigation team set up security cameras inside the building overnight, hoping to capture something they couldn't explain. What they got was 3 separate incidents, all caught on silent CCTV footage, all happening in the early morning hours when the building was completely empty. The man reviewing the footage describes himself as a skeptical person, which makes his reaction to what the cameras caught all the more worth paying attention to. The first 2 events happen at 5:53 a.m. No staff, no guests, nobody in the building. Watch.
A movement right there, and then it proceeds to go like up the stairs, but it could be someone, just walking on the outside on our front porch right there, which is logically what it is, but it almost seems that the camera's kind of bending, and it bends the staircase a little bit, and then right after it goes to the top of the stairs, the hat seems to jump up before it falls off onto the ground and kind of rolls around. It's very weird. It's something I can't explain. Now, even weirder than that is the next day, that same woman came back in and she was wearing the same exact clothes, and which is fine. I'm not judging. Maybe she had some, had a fun night. Maybe got it lucky. She could have stayed somewhere close to here, or maybe she lives there. Who knows? But she, how wacky this is. Like, what is she doing? She seems to be walking weird, and then she's like peeping back in. Like, how long was she out on the porch just like staring in after the video cuts off? It's wild. It was a bizarre thing. I don't know what's up with that lady, but more importantly, I don't know what's up with that hat. That's the most evidence I've seen of something, and I mean, I saw it with my own eyes. It was right in front of me as I'm talking to this woman. It was very weird. I can't explain it. Make up your own mind on what you think, and let me know. Thanks for watching.
From 2 separate camera angles focused on the staircase near the entrance area, a black hat resting on the stair railing suddenly falls to the floor without anyone near it. Moments before the movement, the footage appears to capture something unusual near the front entrance, a faint distortion near the doorway, and what some viewers believe looks like movement crossing near the staircase itself. What makes the clip unsettling is not just the hat falling, but the sequence leading up to it. Investigators reviewing the footage pointed out that the distortion appears seconds before the object moves, almost as if something invisible passed through the area first. But according to the team, the strangest part came the next day. The woman connected to the hat incident reportedly returned to the hotel wearing the exact same clothes she had on the previous night. Staff members later claimed her behavior immediately stood out. For several minutes, she allegedly stood staring silently at a wall without reacting to anyone around her. She then began making bizarre comments to both employees and customers, including repeatedly talking about eating dog food, before wandering through the building acting disoriented and suspicious. Paranormal researchers sometimes associate this kind of behavior with locations believed to have lingering spiritual activity, especially in places where repeated reports of apparitions, distortions, or object movement have already been documented. In many cases, investigators describe witnesses becoming unusually fixated, detached, or emotionally altered after experiencing unexplained events inside allegedly haunted environments. Whether the woman's behavior was connected to what the cameras captured remains unknown, but for many viewers, the combination of the distortion near the staircase, the unexplained movement of the hat, and the woman returning the following day behaving strangely has made this one of the more unsettling pieces of footage connected to haunted Hobart. The following clips were both captured by security cameras inside what appears to be the same home, both in the early morning hours, and both involve something that seems to be paying very close attention to a sleeping baby. In the first clip, the timestamp reads, just after 1:30 in the morning on March 25th of 2023. The footage is in grayscale night vision, filmed from a high corner angle looking down at a bedroom. A large bed sits in the center of the frame, and to its left, a baby's crib with a small form tucked inside. The room is still. The door to the left of the crib is slightly ajar, and for the first 20 seconds or so, nothing moves. Then it got worse. Watch. The bedroom door slowly begins to move on its own, opening wider before shifting back again, despite no one appearing anywhere near it. But according to the family, this wasn't the only incident. In a second clip, recorded on a separate night in April of 2019, at approximately 5:20 in the morning, another camera positioned directly above a bassinet captures something else entirely. Watch carefully. A teddy bear placed near the baby begins to move on its own. The motion is slow and deliberate, with the toy shifting position while nothing else in the frame appears disturbed. No hands enter the shot. No one approaches the crib. The room remains otherwise completely still. What unsettles many viewers is the pattern between the two recordings. In both clips, the activity centers around the child's sleeping area, almost as if whatever is present is drawn toward the crib itself. Some paranormal researchers point to old stories involving watchers, entities said to linger silently near sleeping children, often first noticed through subtle environmental changes like moving doors, shifting objects, or unexplained sounds during the early hours of the morning. Whether the two incidents are connected is impossible to know. But for many viewers, the idea that both cameras captured unexplained activity centered around the same baby is what makes the footage difficult to forget. In this next clip, a man claims he had finally decided to leave his house after days of experiencing what he described as unbearable activity inside the home. Hoping to get away from whatever had been disturbing him, he temporarily stayed somewhere else. But according to him, the activity didn't stop when he left. It followed him. Watch closely.
Algo está sonando en el cuarto. Creo que es la cama.
While filming inside the room, the man lifts the comforter slightly and points the camera toward the space beneath the bed. For a brief moment, a pair of pale, bare feet can be seen. Skeptics argue that someone could simply have been hiding underneath, a child, a friend, or someone playing a prank. But according to the man filming, when he looked again moments later, there was no one there. What unsettled many viewers even more was the folklore some people connected to the footage afterward. In parts of Latin American paranormal tradition, there are stories of childlike entities said to appear inside homes, often partially hidden beneath beds, in corners, or just outside direct view. Some compared the figure to legends surrounding La Niña de las Sombras, translated loosely as the Shadow Girl, a spirit described in online folklore as appearing silently inside domestic spaces before gradually becoming more aggressive over time. Others connected it to stories associated with La Llorona, where sightings involving children or crying voices are believed to signal a lingering supernatural presence inside the home. But according to the man, the encounter didn't end there. After several more days of disturbances, he decided to place a Bible near the exact spot where he claimed he first saw the feet. Then, during the early hours of the morning, he says he heard a voice telling him to look underneath it, so he started recording again. The same pale feet and lower legs appear beneath the object once more. But this time, the footage captures something else alongside it, a whisper repeating a single word in Spanish, ayuda, which means help. What makes the clip especially disturbing to some viewers is the implication behind the voice. In many paranormal traditions, entities that imitate children are often described as deceptive, using cries for help or weak voices to draw attention and lower fear before escalating activity further. We can only hope that's not the case here. The following clips were recorded inside what appears to be an abandoned commercial space, a former retail unit with unfinished walls, exposed ductwork, and the kind of industrial silence that makes every small sound feel wrong. The man filming had been exploring the location and decided to leave a static camera running in one of the darker rooms, stepping back to let it record on its own. For a stretch, nothing happens, just a faint ambient hum and the stillness of an empty space. Then it got worse. Watch. What you just heard wasn't a single knock or a creak. It was a violent, rapid barrage of metallic crashes and bangs, like heavy metal racks or poles being hurled against a wall in quick succession, all with no visible source anywhere in the frame. The room was empty. No one was there. When he goes back in with a flashlight to investigate, he finds the ceiling torn open near an access hatch, damaged in a way that raises more questions than it answers. Some believe what was captured is consistent with poltergeist-type activity, a term used to describe disturbances characterized not by visual apparitions, but by aggressive, physical, or auditory force, sounds and movement without an obvious agent. The second clip picks up in a similarly dark, confined space, this time a cluttered crawl space or attic area, accessed through a panel in a low ceiling. Watch. If you look closely, something like a human hand is still for a moment before suddenly moving. The reaction from viewers was immediate. Some believe there may have been a person trapped somewhere inside the space. Others think the movement looked unnatural, especially given how motionless the hand remained beforehand. What makes the clip disturbing is the uncertainty. The camera never stays long enough to reveal what the hand is attached to, or whether something was actually hiding deeper inside the crawl space the entire time. Now, in this next clip, a man with no named introduction documents something he found on the wall of his house. A faint, smudgy impression sitting high up on a plain tan wall, shaped unmistakably like a small hand. Watch.
Okay, I'm gonna see if I can try and get...
Okay, come over this way.
Okay, because it's like you can't see it, and then suddenly it's there. And there's no way any... Ooh, there's an ant walking across the street. But there is no way anybody could physically get there.
Well, considering you look, and there's the stairs. This thing is 6 feet above the stairway.
Somebody would have to be, okay. And there's a wall here.
Zoom in on me. I mean, look at this, okay? I'm standing on the stairs, for Christ's sakes.
And there's the hand.
You got 8-10 feet.
And you can only see it at certain angles. But there is no way anybody could have gotten that handprint there. It's physically impossible. And it wasn't there a couple days ago.
No, that is screwy. We gotta put that out and ask people about it. I mean, that's just, you can't do that.
I mean, I'm gonna...
And that is the left hand.
Yeah.
That's the left hand, so we're talking...
So somebody would have
on
had
the stairs, you're looking at...
That... Okay, there's no way.
You're like 15, 20 feet in the...
Yeah, there is no way somebody... Is it still there?
Yeah, it's still sitting there. I can see it clear as day.
Okay. I'm going to see if I can zoom in a little bit.
You're talking 15, 20 feet in the air for somebody to put a handprint there.
And we had the place painted recently. but it is not, it was not there. I know it was not there.
So Cricket was sensing something today.
Well, it was weird because she kept freaking out all day.
Yeah.
And then suddenly this thing appears. Wait, come back. 'Cause I want to show. Okay, there's you trying to reach up to where it is. So even if you stood on the stairs, can you move up a little bit? So even if you stood on the stairs, because there's the handprint, you can't reach it. And you're over 6 feet. There's no way. Okay. And Amethyst has been acting really weird today, too.
Well, I'm coming down to deal with her.
Okay.
That handprint sits too high for a child to reach casually, and the shape, a distinct palm with finger smudges fanning outward, isn't the kind of thing that just appears on a painted wall without explanation. Some believe impressions like this are residual contact, a spirit pressing through from the other side and leaving a physical trace behind. Others think it could point to a child's presence, which paranormal investigators often describe as among the most emotionally charged and difficult to dismiss. You can see why he kept coming back to it. Whatever left that mark apparently had somewhere to be, right at the top of those stairs. The following video was recorded by a man in Virginia who'd been noticing strange things happening inside his shed. Strange enough that he set up a Ring security camera in there to try to catch something on film. The shed itself is cluttered with tools, old boxes, and years of accumulated junk. The kind of space that's easy to ignore until it starts ignoring you back. The camera is mounted high in a corner, looking down over the whole room, and on the afternoon of April 19th of 2026, at around 4:26 p.m., nobody is inside. Nobody visible, anyway. A door at the back of the room is closed, the floor is still, and then it isn't. Watch.
Man, look at this.
What unfolds over the next few minutes is one of the densest collections of unexplained activity caught on a single static camera in recent memory. A door swinging open on its own, loud thuds and heavy dragging sounds filling the room with no visible source. A ball rolling out of the open doorway and stopping dead. A wooden shelf crashing to the floor, and then, most disturbingly, being lifted back up and out of frame against gravity. And then there's the music. Old-fashioned, tinny, with a female vocalist, faint at first, then growing steadily louder, as though something is physically walking it closer to the camera's microphone, right up until a sharp pop is heard, and something lets out a high-pitched cry of pain. When the man Yeed enters the shed to investigate, you can hear how shaken he is, breathing heavy, voice cracking, yelling into the dark attic above him, and getting nothing back. What he finds up there doesn't answer anything. Broken nameplates reading Mr. and Mrs. Ronald J. with the surnames snapped clean off, a shattered Rolex-style watch, shot glasses etched with the logo of Sweetbriar College, a women's-only institution here in Virginia, all of it belonging to someone else, someone whose connection to this shed he can't explain. Many viewers think what's captured here is classic poltergeist behavior, not a haunting tied to a location so much as an intelligence that interacts with physical objects, creates sound, and seems capable of responding to the presence of a camera. Poltergeist activity in paranormal research is often described as kinetic, loud, and escalating, the kind of presence that doesn't hide but performs. Others think the objects found in the attic matter more than the activity itself, that whoever Ronald J. was, something tied to him or to whoever he shared that nameplate with, hasn't fully left the space. The shelf being lifted back up is the detail that's hardest to walk away from. Things fall, that's physics, but whatever pulled that shelf back up wasn't working with gravity, it was working against it. So what exactly is living in that shed with him, and does it know he's looking? Now, in this next clip, a group of friends decide to explore the darker parts of the building they're staying in at 4:15 in the morning. What starts as a casual, laughing walkthrough of a dark office space slowly shifts into something far more unsettling. The man filming leads his two friends through room after room, trying locked doors, peering into a cluttered storage area, and eventually unlatching a back door that opens into complete darkness outside. The mood is still light. They're joking, whispering, shining a phone flashlight into corners until they saw something terrifying. Watch.
Oh, my pintu, my pintu, my pintu, my pintu, my pagi. My pagi, my pintu, mari kita tengok, mari kita tengok. Buka lampu, Pi, buka lampu, Pi. Nak guguk, babi. Buka lampu. Macam ni, Pi. Macam ada orang tu. Allah, lampu pula tutup. Ya, babi tu. Bodoh. Ni tinggal aku pun bodoh. Macam babi tinggal aku. Lampu tutup pula. Ruang ketang, ruang jiluan. Bodoh. Bimbang. Biar. Tak pasal pipi je. Biar. Ya. Tak orang tu. Tak sini gelap dia. Allah! Bodoh! Ya Allah! Bodoh. Babi gugah, ya Allah. Allahu Akbar.
If you look closely, there's a figure, and according to the guys, it's a pokong. Near the edge of the darkness, a pale figure can briefly be seen motionless in the background. The group immediately reacts, and according to the men filming, what they saw was a pokong, a ghost from Indonesian and Malay folklore, believed to be the spirit of a dead person trapped inside their burial shroud. In traditional beliefs, the body of the deceased is wrapped tightly in white cloth before burial, with bindings around the head, neck, and feet. Legends claim that if the soul is unable to move on, the spirit may return in the same wrapped form, unable to walk normally, and often described as hopping or appearing stiff and motionless in dark places. Reports of pokong sightings are especially common near abandoned buildings, graveyards, and isolated roads late at night. Some viewers believe the figure was simply a person standing outside in the darkness. Others are convinced the reaction from the group was too immediate and genuine to be staged. But for those familiar with the legend of the pokong, the clip taps into a fear that has existed for generations. The following clip was recorded inside what appears to be a private collection room, floor-to-ceiling wooden shelves packed with hundreds of clown dolls, figurines, and ceramic pieces, a human-sized clown seated in a chair in the background, holding two smaller ones on its lap. The woman filming walks through the space calmly at first, taking it all in, until something just off-camera stops her cold. Watch.
Might do that. Are you a textural? Well, thank you. You see that? Yeah,
She freezes mid-step, her expression shifting from neutral to wide-eyed shock, and she raises her palm outward like she's bracing against something invisible. Collections like this, especially ones centered around objects with human-like features, such as dolls or figurines, have long been tied to unsettling theories in paranormal folklore. Across multiple cultures, objects that resemble the human form are believed to act as vessels, not necessarily because something is placed into them intentionally, but because their likeness creates what some traditions describe as a spiritual anchor, something that makes it easier for unseen entities to attach themselves or manifest through them. Clown figures in particular tend to amplify that discomfort, not because of anything inherently supernatural about clowns themselves, but because their exaggerated expressions create a disconnect between emotion and appearance. Smiles that don't feel natural, eyes that seem fixed yet aware, making it easier for the human mind to interpret subtle changes as something more. The following video was recorded during a live stream session out of Columbiana, Alabama, in September of 2019, when three men were in the middle of a casual conversation about haunted artifacts, specifically about a trip one of them had taken to the Afterlife Museum in West Virginia, a place known for housing objects with dark histories. On the table in front of them sat two vintage baby dolls, brought out as part of the discussion. Nothing about the setup seemed alarming. The man on the right, joining remotely via video call, was mid-sentence describing what he'd seen at the museum. Death masks, haunted dolls, the kind of objects people warn you not to bring home. Watch.
Death mask. They actually had the cap they would put on death row inmate when they kept the chair. I mean, it was bizarre. And I thought, yeah,
what happened?
Like 20 seconds ago, I thought, yeah. I ignored it because I thought it was my eyes.
I didn't really. It was this one right here, wasn't it?
Yes, it was.
Screen,
Yeah.
I didn't see. I missed it.
I
was just trying to see the head kind of wobble like it was trying to turn.
Yeah,
Okay.
I thought my eyes were playing with me.
Joe, you want to take that one home with you?
As long as it's temporary. They had death mask. They actually had the cap they would put on death row inmate when they kept the chair. I mean, it was bizarre. And I thought, yeah,
What happened?
like 20 seconds ago, I thought, yeah. I ignored it because I thought it was my eyes.
Alabama. And we're going to build a museum on it.
That'll be cool.
It's going to be a haunted museum and a Bigfoot museum, artifacts, and, for storytelling and that kind of stuff.
Right. I had recently went up to West Virginia to the, what was it called? The Afterlife Museum. The Archive of the Afterlife Museum. That place was really interesting. They had all kinds of dolls that were haunted, were supposedly haunted. They had death masks. They actually had the cap they would put on death row inmate when they kept the chair. I mean, it was bizarre, and I thought, yeah.
What happened?
Like 20 seconds ago, I thought, yeah. I ignored it. I ignored it because I thought it was my eyes.
I didn't really. It was this one right here, wasn't it?
The head of the dolls were slowly moving. What makes this harder to dismiss is that the man on the call admits he noticed the movement 20 seconds earlier and chose to ignore it, telling himself it was his eyes playing tricks. Both men react simultaneously and independently, which is exactly the kind of detail skeptics struggle to explain away. Some believe objects that have passed through environments like the Afterlife Museum can carry residual energy, absorbing something from the people and places they've been around. Others think the doll may have been responding to the conversation itself. If you watch the replay closely, you'll notice the right doll also shifts slightly at the same moment. So what exactly set it off? The following video was recorded on a home security camera set up in a living area, looking down a dark hallway toward a closed white door. The house appears quiet, no one moving, no lights on, nothing out of the ordinary by any visible measure. And then, fairly early in the footage, something changes. Watch. Some viewers think the figure is a camera artifact, a long exposure glitch layered over the original feed. Others aren't so sure, pointing out that the object moving independently happens in the same footage, and that kind of pairing, a visual apparition followed by physical movement, is something that keeps showing up in home security cases like this one. Whether the movements in this clip were caused by vibration, an unseen draft, a camera illusion, or something else entirely remains unclear. But moments like this are exactly why ordinary security footage so often ends up at the center of paranormal debates online. Now, in this next clip, a man wakes up in the middle of the night to the sound of footsteps on his basement stairs. Not once, not twice, but over and over for nearly 10 minutes straight. What makes this especially unsettling is that he thought it was over. Earlier that week, he'd visited a cemetery, and after that, every bit of activity in his home had gone completely quiet. He believed whatever had been following him had returned to where it came from. He was wrong, so he grabs his flashlight and starts moving through the dark house, narrating as he goes, clearly shaken. Watch.
Alright, so I was woken up this morning to the sound of walking up and down my basement stairs again. It was over and over and over for probably 10 minutes straight. It was just walking up and down the basement stairs. Now, this is the first any type of activity I've had in the last week. Now, I opened the cemetery up on Monday, and since then I've had absolutely no activity here at home. So I thought that whatever followed me, or whatever it was, returned to the cemetery, and that was it. But like I said, I woke up to, the back door's locked. All the windows are locked. Stairs again. So I don't know. No, I don't know.
While he's mid-sentence, a loud crash cuts him off. A green shaker bottle now on the kitchen floor, with no one near it. He picks it up, hands unsteady, breathing heavy, and just says, "I don't know," over and over. You can hear the defeat in his voice. Some believe this is classic poltergeist behavior, objects displaced by an unseen force as a direct response to the witness's presence. Others think whatever came back from that cemetery didn't come alone. But what do you think? The following clip was recorded by a man somewhere in Carrollsville, late at night and in the middle of a heavy rainstorm. He's parked in his Jeep outside a building near a gas station when something across the street stops him cold. According to him, whatever it was had already been there when he first noticed it. Pale and vaguely humanoid, standing in the rain near the pumps. He gets out of the car, which, honestly, most people would never do. And the moment he does, something shifts. The temperature of the whole situation changes. Watch.
Oh my God. What the f do you want? Just leave me alone. Just leave me alone, please.
figure in white, standing across the road in the dark and the rain, doesn't move the way anything should. And then the sound starts. A high-pitched, wavering wail that doesn't match any emergency siren, any car alarm, anything you'd expect to hear outside a gas station at night. He screams at it, pleads with it, and eventually scrambles back into the Jeep just to get away. What makes this harder to dismiss is the final glance in his side mirror before he speeds off. The figure is now under the carport he just left, and it appears to be contorting. Some viewers familiar with Carroll County's long history of documented hauntings have pointed out that the region around Carrollsville has carried paranormal folklore for generations. Others focused on those sounds, that unnatural, layered wail, and suggested it's consistent with what some researchers call an intelligent haunting, where a presence doesn't just appear, but actively communicates through sound and proximity. Skeptics think the figure is a person in a raincoat, and the sounds are distorted road noise bleeding through the recording. But that doesn't explain why it followed him. Where exactly did it go? The following clip dates back to June 28, 2013, when a man was at home in Arlington, Virginia, during a powerful storm. With nothing else to do, he picked up his iPhone and began recording the storm from his apartment window, capturing 3 short clips simply to pass the time, with no expectation that anything unusual would come from it. Days later, while going through his phone, he considered deleting the videos, but before doing so, he decided to watch them one last time. And at first, nothing stood out. Everything seemed normal, just flashes of lightning and the outline of the storm outside. But after replaying one of the clips a few more times, something finally caught his attention. Something that hadn't been visible to him in the moment while he was recording. Watch. For a brief moment, the faint figure of what appears to be a girl, or possibly a woman, can be seen standing near the window. What makes this detail particularly unsettling is the context surrounding it, because there was no power in the apartment at the time, meaning no internal light source that could create reflections. And directly opposite the window is a solid wall, leaving very little room for the figure to be explained as a reflection from outside. He was also completely alone in the apartment when this was recorded, and more importantly, he did not see or sense anything unusual while filming, which raises the question of how something so visible on camera could go entirely unnoticed in real time. Some interpretations suggest that certain conditions, like storms, power outages, and sudden changes in light, can create the perfect environment for unusual visual anomalies, where shadows and reflections behave in ways that can be easily misinterpreted. However, others believe that moments like this, especially when something appears only on camera and not to the human eye, may point to something that exists outside normal perception, only becoming visible under very specific circumstances. Whatever was captured in that clip remains unexplained. And without further evidence or updates, this incident continues to linger as one of those recordings where something is clearly there, but what it actually is has yet to be determined. In this next video, a cafe that now serves customers every day was once an old hardware store, a place that already carried years of history before it was ever transformed. But what makes this location particularly unsettling isn't just its age, it's what reportedly happened there, because according to accounts tied to the previous owners, The original owner's son passed away inside that very building about 9 years ago, leaving behind a story that didn't end when the place changed hands. The new owners began noticing something strange not long after moving in, because every afternoon at exactly 3 p.m., long after the cafe had closed and everyone had left, they would hear distinct footsteps moving through the space, slow, steady, and consistent, as though someone was walking through the cafe during hours when it should have been completely empty. Curious and unsettled, they decided to set up a camera to see if anything could explain the sounds they had been hearing. This is what they found. If you look closely, something in the frame appears to move, subtle enough to miss at first, but clear enough on replay to suggest that whatever is moving is not part of the normal stillness of the room. In other recordings, they captured additional activity inside the cafe. Watch. In this clip, a chair moves on its own, with no one present in the store at the time, no visible cause, no disturbance in the environment that could explain the motion, which only deepens the unease surrounding what might be happening there. Moments like this begin to shift the narrative from coincidence to pattern, because when movement is repeated in an empty space, especially in a location tied to a past tragedy, it invites speculation that whatever once occupied that space may not have fully left. Now in this next video, a man named Troy begins documenting a series of disturbing events happening inside his home, and from the very beginning, there's a clear pattern to it all. Because whatever is present doesn't simply move things randomly. It almost feels like something is attempting to rearrange the space to its own preference, only for it to come off as chaotic and destructive, leaving rooms in disarray as though an unseen presence is constantly interfering with the natural order of the house. Drawers are left open, objects are shifted out of place, and furniture appears slightly repositioned between moments, not in a way that feels accidental, but in a way that suggests intention, as though something is actively interacting with the environment and reshaping it, even if imperfectly. Watch this.
It's getting more intense.
You can hear heavy footsteps, like someone is moving freely from one part of the house to another. The same activity has been reported in multiple areas of the house, including the third floor where his son usually plays, which only adds another layer of concern, because now it's not just about unexplained movement, it's about something potentially occupying spaces meant to feel safe. Watch.
It's happening on the third floor, too.
Again, the same stomping, the same scattered movement of objects, but this time accompanied by several orbs drifting through the frame. At this point, the pattern begins to feel less like coincidence, and some warn that repeated disturbances like this can escalate over time if whatever is behind it is not addressed. And that's where it starts to get more unsettling, because if this is something that's growing more active, then what Troy is experiencing now might only be the beginning of something far more intense. So if you've ever dealt with something like this, or have any idea what steps might actually help in a situation like this? Share your thoughts, because in cases like these, sometimes the difference between things getting better or worse comes down to what you do next, and whether or not you understand what you're truly dealing with. In this next video, two sisters are home alone inside their bedroom when their house alarm suddenly goes off.
I'm recording. Wait. Do you hear that? Can you check the security footage? Oh my god.
The security app shows the front door wide open, as if someone has just walked in. Naturally, they assume it's a break-in, but when they replay the exact moment the door opens, there's no one there. To make things worse, a police siren can be heard outside around the same time, adding to the panic. But that was not all that happened.
What is it?
They hear their bedroom door open. Convinced someone is inside the house, they make a split-second decision to escape through the window. After the footage spread, many viewers blamed the wind, but the sisters posted another clip explaining why that theory doesn't hold.
Wondering that maybe the door was the wind, but clearly, as you can tell, you have to kind of force down to close it fully. And there's just so much space between, don't mind. There's kind of like a huge distance, so there's no way the wind could have gotten that.
After explaining the door situation, they showed what completely changed their perspective. A moment captured on camera that made them question everything they thought they knew about that day. Take a look.
Clear.
A small, shadowy figure dashes past the camera. It moves incredibly fast, too fast to clearly define. There are no visible features, no clear arms, legs, or face, just a dark mass that crosses the frame and disappears. And if you look closely, the motion camera seems to adjust. almost like it's tracking something moving freely through the house. The sisters say this is a new build, not an old property with some long-forgotten history. So the typical house history explanation wasn't even on their radar. But the sequence is what unsettles them most. The front door opening first, then the bedroom door, then the shadow figure appearing inside. They believe something forced its way in. And that raises an earlier question. If something unseen opened the front door, could it have also opened the bedroom door? Skeptics might argue camera glitches, motion blur, pressure differences in the house, or even a small animal moving quickly past the lens. Security cameras, especially in low light, can distort shapes and exaggerate speed. But the sequence of events, alarm, door opening, bedroom door moving, shadow figure, happening back to back is what unsettles most viewers. So what do you think? A chain of coincidences and technical quirks, or something that entered that house and moved through it freely? The following clip was captured during a paranormal investigation in San Antonio, Texas on December 11th, 2016, inside a location that investigators had already described as deeply unsettling long before this footage was recorded, with reports of cold spots forming without warning, faint whispers heard in empty rooms, and an overwhelming feeling of being watched that seemed to follow anyone who stepped too far inside, especially in the darker sections of the building where the air felt heavier and the silence never quite stayed silent. According to those familiar with the location, it wasn't uncommon for equipment to malfunction or spike unexpectedly, as though something unseen was interfering with the environment, and there had even been previous claims of shadowy figures moving just out of sight, never fully visible, but always close enough to be noticed. Watch.
Do you need help moving on?
Alright, so let's play this shit back. Let's see if we got quiet. Is there anyone here right now?
Can you give us a sign that you are here? Reach out and touch my shoulder. My right shoulder. Give my jacket a quick tug.
If anyone's here, could you please state your name? Now we're just using my phone because the other recorder died. Whoa, that was weird. I think.
What?
I think I panned over here and it looked like,
What appears in the footage is difficult to dismiss because a white mass suddenly darts from left to right with a speed that doesn't quite match anything physical in the space before it seems to shift direction and reach toward the investigator, a movement that feels almost reactive rather than random. The way it moves has led many to believe this isn't simply dust or camera interference, but a ghost, especially because of its shape, its direction, and the timing of its appearance. Moments like this tend to blur the line between explanation and speculation, because while there are always attempts to rationalize what's seen, the behavior of whatever appears in this clip doesn't settle easily into a clear or comfortable answer, leaving behind a moment that continues to raise more questions than it resolves. And for now, whatever was captured in that investigation remains a mystery. The following video was captured by a man who had already grown used to being woken up in the middle of the night by things he couldn't explain, to the point where it had become a routine, something he no longer questioned immediately, but instead documented, almost as if he knew that whatever was happening would eventually show itself on camera. Before this night, he had been dealing with faint knocks at odd hours, objects shifting slightly out of place, and moments where he would wake up feeling like someone had just been standing over him, watching, only for the room to be completely empty when he fully opened his eyes. Over time, it became harder to ignore, especially when he started hearing low sounds at night, scratching, dragging, and at times something that almost resembled breathing, close enough to feel real, but never visible long enough to confirm. So when it happened again that night, when a loud sound suddenly pulled him out of sleep, he reached for his phone, hoping to finally catch something clear enough to explain it all. What he captured instead only made things worse. Watch. The door creaks open first, slow and deliberate, with no one near it. Then a small black creature lunges onto the bed directly at him, letting out a shriek that doesn't sound like anything domestic, followed by a deep growl. Many would immediately label something like this as a demonic presence, and in many reported cases, it's said that when something like this begins to feel comfortable within a space, when it's no longer hiding or limiting itself to small signs, it can escalate even further, sometimes attempting to influence or even possess the person living there. In this next clip, a man in Chihuahua, Mexico, had been running a studio space he'd been using for work. A cluttered, horror-decorated room filled with vintage masks, a porcelain doll, and a large, ornate mirror. He'd already lost a week's worth of security footage because the cloud trial on his camera system expired before he could save anything locally. Then, on a Tuesday night, while he was away recovering from an eye injury, his security camera triggered a movement alert at 9:10 p.m. He ignored it at first. It wasn't until Thursday that he finally came back to check, and that's when things got harder to dismiss. Watch. The security camera, the kind set to tracking mode, begins panning slowly across the empty room on its own, as if following something invisible. Then, a door that was slightly ajar in the background swings fully shut with deliberate, unhurried force. The doll by your right also moved without anyone in sight touching it. When the man arrives with his handheld camera that same night, he walks to a corner of the floor near the desk, a floor he says he'd left spotless, and points the light downward. Have a look.
Un poco. Yo había dejado limpio. Y hay unas huellas ahí. Esos días hizo bastante frío, hizo mucho frío. Bueno, para que alguien anduviera descalzo, lo dudo mucho. Para la gente de aquí de Chihuahua sabe que no se puede andar uno descalzo en de la calle. Y luego, miren, yo calzo del 9. Ese pie es enorme, está muy, muy, muy grande. No es mi pie. O sea, la verdad, sí está muy, muy grande el pie. Y le digo, oí pasos.
A large, dirty, barefoot print on the floor. He holds his own shoe next to it for comparison. He wears a size 9, and the print is noticeably bigger, both in length and width. There was no sign of forced entry, so from that point on, the debate around what's causing all of this only intensified. Some people are convinced the activity is tied to a large mirror he brought into the studio. According to him, the strange occurrences began almost immediately after the mirror arrived. In paranormal belief, mirrors are often considered portals, reflective surfaces believed to thin the boundary between spaces. Many cultures warn that mirrors can act as gateways, allowing entities to observe, attach, or even pass through. If that's the case here, it could explain the sense of being watched, the movement being tracked, and the idea that something is present without fully manifesting. But others believe the mirror isn't the source, it's the doll. Dolls act as vessels, not necessarily haunted at first, but capable of housing or attracting a presence over time. The fact that the doll moves during the footage and that disturbances seem more physical, doors slamming, objects shifting, leads many to think the doll is what's anchoring whatever is inside that studio. And then there are those who think it isn't one or the other, but both. Some believe the mirror may have opened the door, and the doll became the place where whatever came through decided to stay. Until more updates are shared, this remains unsolved. Now in this next clip, a couple decides to do something many people would strongly advise against. Sitting together in a darkened room, candles flickering around them as they place their hands on a Ouija board and ask whatever might be listening to make itself known. Watch. Before this moment, they had already experienced strange activity in their old apartment, which was located right next to a hospital, a detail that, for many people, immediately raises questions, because places like that are often associated with intense emotional energy, loss, and unresolved moments that some believe can linger. They reported hearing unexplained sounds, feeling watched, and noticing subtle disturbances they couldn't explain, which led them to wonder if something might have attached itself to them. So when they moved into their new place, instead of leaving it behind, they made a decision that would change everything, using the Ouija board to find out if whatever they had experienced before had followed them into this new home. Watch.
Anybody there? Is anybody there? Can you give us a sign? Can you give us a sign? Oh my god. There's no way. There's no way. Dude, there's nobody in here. There's nobody in here. What is going on? Oh.
Some viewers believe this confirms their fear, that something from their old apartment may have stayed with them, something that didn't leave when they moved. But others argue something far more unsettling, that it wasn't about something following them at all, but about what they may have invited in at that exact moment by choosing to use the board. And that's where the situation takes a more serious turn. Because people familiar with how these sessions are traditionally handled were quick to point out a critical mistake, something that might seem small but carries heavy implications in paranormal belief. The fact that they removed their hands from the planchette without properly closing the session or saying goodbye. According to those beliefs, that final step isn't optional. It's meant to close whatever line of communication has been opened by skipping it. Many believe they didn't just stop the session, they left it unfinished, leaving what some describe as an open doorway, something that doesn't simply close on its own. On another day, they decided to do it again.
Is anybody there? Is anybody there? No.
Jacob, we have to get out. We have to get out.
Moments like this are often used as examples when people talk about the risks tied to using a Ouija board, not because of what is guaranteed to happen, but because of what can happen when boundaries aren't understood or respected. The idea isn't just that something might respond, but that once that line is opened, it may not always be clear what exactly is responding, or whether it intends to leave when you're done. And that's the part many people overlook, because it's not always about whether something followed them from before. Sometimes it's about what they may have invited in, without fully understanding how to send it back. This next video was recorded by a man who has been documenting what he describes as an increasingly aggressive haunting inside his home. And by the time this footage begins, he's already terrified before he even reaches the bottom of the stairs. It started with smaller disturbances, noises in the night, his dog refusing to behave normally downstairs, a growing sense that whatever was in the house was no longer passive. He blames the spirits for recent bad luck in his life, including a car accident, and on this particular night, he grabs his phone and heads downstairs because something has set his dog off again. Watch.
Nouvelle vidéo, on entend du bruit, mon chien s'est énervé d'un coup. Devient catastrophique. Les esprits deviennent agressifs. Oui, j'arrive, ma fille. Et pire, c'est qu'ils me portent la poisse. Là, il y a 2 jours, les gendarmes m'ont rentré dans la voiture. Elle était devant chez moi, mais la voiture est épave. Beaucoup de chance. Beaucoup de chance. Et l'excuse, c'est le keuf avait une poussière dans l'œil. Vous y croyez, vous? Ben, moi, malheureusement. Oh putain, c'est quoi ce bordel encore, putain. Ça fait que ça, c'est incroyable. On essaie de trouver des solutions, mais rien qui marche. Cherche, mon chien, cherche. Il y a quelque chose? Oh putain. Ça devient bizarre. What the... Ouais. Putain, ça m'a piqué. Ah. Putain, c'est quoi ça? Mais c'est quoi ce délire? C'est quoi ce délire, putain de merde? Oh là là. Putain, c'est quoi ce délire? Putain de merde. Ça devient n'importe quoi ce baraque. Si vous avez des idées, des conseils. Ah, des idées, des conseils, je suis preneur. Honnêtement, ça... Oh putain, c'était quoi ça? Oh fuck off. Oh sa mère. C'était quoi ça, putain? C'était quoi cette merde? Fille. Ah, putain. Ah, fille, qu'est-ce qui t'arrive? Non. Non. Mais non. C'est quoi ce délire? C'est quoi ce délire, putain de ça? C'est quoi ce voix de sa mère, putain? Sa mère.
He claims to feel fingers pressing along his spine, then shouts out in pain as the camera lurches violently, as if something struck him. Then it got worse. The television switches on by itself, blasting loud, dramatic music into the dark room, and his dog stands near the glass door, with her tail tucked, too frightened to move. He uses the remote to shut it off, but within minutes, it turns back on, this time changing channels and raising its own volume, while the remote sits on the floor in front of it. Some viewers immediately pointed to poltergeist activity, a term used to describe a type of disturbance associated with physical force and object manipulation rather than a simple haunting. But the man's response to all of this is what makes the second clip even more unsettling, because rather than leave, he keeps confronting it. Watch.
Prochaine vidéo, j'ai décidé de me battre contre cette chose malveillante.
Horrible. Ça fait un moment que j'ai pas fait de vidéo, mais là ça empire. De jour en jour. Des marques, des griffes. C'est insupportable. Putain. Ah, c'est toi, tu me fais peur. Alors, il y a quelqu'un? Putain, c'est insupportable. Putain, c'est quoi cette merde encore? Non, mais c'est pas possible.
He descends the same staircase again, speaking in a tense, hushed voice, saying things are getting worse day by day. Marks, scratches, unbearable. His dog startles him in the dark. Then a loud bang erupts from somewhere off camera. The camera whips sideways, and from inside a closed toy chest, a child's musical melody begins playing on its own. He opens the lid. The music cuts off the moment he slams it shut. For some viewers, a toy activating inside a sealed chest with no one near it lands differently than anything electronic. It feels deliberate, like something announcing itself. And if that's true, the question isn't whether it's still down there, it's whether it ever planned to stop. Now in this next clip, a man is riding his motorcycle alone down a dark, isolated road at night, heading to a wedding, when something on the roadside stops him cold. At that hour, there's usually nothing to see except the road ahead, so when something appears in the distance, it immediately stands out. Watch.
Fuck, man. Oh, fuck, bastard! Oh, shit! Oh, shit, man! Oh, shit, man! Oh!
As his headlight stretches forward, it catches the outline of a figure walking along the road, tall, pale, and unnaturally still in the way it carries itself, not reacting to the approaching motorcycle, not stepping aside, just continuing forward, like it doesn't even acknowledge him being there. And that's where it starts to feel wrong. Some viewers believe what he encountered could have been a ghost, the kind often described in roadside sightings, figures that appear briefly, usually at night, sometimes tied to past accidents or tragedies, known to show up without warning and disappear just as quickly, leaving the person who saw them questioning what they just experienced. So if you were riding down that same road, alone, and that figure appeared in your headlights, would you slow down and try to understand what you're looking at? Or would you keep going and not look back? Now, in this next video, a man claims that every single night when he returns to his home, something is already there waiting for him, and he decides to prove it. The building itself looks abandoned in stretches, a barrack-style structure at the end of a dark gravel path, lit only by a single street lamp overhead. One night, he hears footsteps like someone running around the house, Shortly after, this happens.
I don't know what that was, so I'm gonna set my camera here. I can watch down the hallway.
Some viewers believe this kind of activity points directly to a poltergeist, but until more updates are shared, this remains unsolved.